Hi everyone, this is Steven. Today I want to talk about money and how one should consider when they decided to move out of US. The reason I want to talk about this topic is because recently I had a really good friend who decided to take a job offer at an American company abroad, and he decided to move back home permanently. So we start talk about what he needs to do, and especially with regard to money that he had in the U.S. So to many of you, I think this could be relevant if you have any sort of tie with the U.S. and you have some money slash asset in the U.S. and now you decided to not to live here anymore, and that might be because our current administration's tough stand on immigration. A lot of things to consider here, but I break out to the next 3 points. So first come first, capital restriction. This is a pretty important consideration. When I say that, I mean really the capital outflow restriction. To many of you live in developed countries that enjoys a very high level of freedom in capital transaction, meaning moving capital out of your own home country, this might not be as relevant. But for the rest of you guys that came from emerging markets, this will be the most important thing to consider, because I list those country on this slide because it does exist across the continents, and it's important to consider the restriction that you might have if you decided to move all your money back home. The kind of restriction. So common theme is you won't be able to move money outside of your home country to outside of your home country very easily later on. Take China for example. You will have $50,000 a year cap on the money that you can wire outside. For the most part, it should cover someone's normal needs, whether it's related to travel or study. For Argentina and South Africa, they don't have a cap, but the country does have pretty complex system of exchange control that limit how much money you can move over shore. And additionally, like you sometimes you might even have to apply for the permission to exchange to a foreign currency and then wire those money abroad. Overall, it's more than inconvenient, that's for sure. And for many of you think, okay, what's so bad about keeping currency and all the money in my home currency? Which will bring me to my very next point, which is the need for diversification of not just your home country's currency, especially for emerging markets. And the reason for that is just look at this extreme example from Venezuela. Look at their inflation per month, even for the later part of 2019 and getting into 2020. How scary that is, are those percentage to you. So basically that means if you put money in the bank in the beginning of any given day in 2020, really, by the end of that day your money will lose at least like 100% of its value for you to have 2-3 thousand percentage of inflation a month. So that's a very scary thought. And how those Venezuelan are handling those situations, they are asking family, friends that live in Europe, live in America, to give them money, while those money to their bank account in their neighbor country like Colombia, and they will cross the border to get those USD and later smuggle them back to their home country to exchange for local currency there, to be able to have some purchasing power there. You might think this is a very extreme example. You will never get there. Even as the world's second largest economy, China, I think there are significant political risk, being an authoritarian government and with a communist background. It's one thing always kind of back in the back of my mind. What if there are um, civil wars coming, and the currency which is tied to the communist government will collapse, and all the money that people have accumulated in the past will just won't be worthless, but will significantly will be significantly depreciated along the way. So that is one risk people should consider. Yes, I might not be able to see it during my lifetime, but it's something, just the idea of diversification and global allocation matters to that extent. And very natural question you might ask, okay, I need to have more than just my local currency, so why should it be USD? And I highly recommend the USD and really just US denominated asset, because USD, after all, is the world's reserve currency. All the central bank across the country, in almost every single country, their treasury purchase so much USD in the treasury stock, because it's considered one of the safest assets slash currency, and that's backed by the US economy. So if you're thinking about moving home, my final recommendation will be to keep as much asset USD that you can have in the US, to the extent that you won't need those money for investment purpose. It will really help you to decrease the kind of risk, and maybe in the time of crisis, the saving grace that you might be able to rely on to get yourself and your family some purchasing power. Thanks for watching this time, and for the future session, I will kind of expand a little bit on the investment management side of the US market. Stay tuned.